position player pitching the same pitch every time. He was throwing low 50s, and they were just off timing, because all they see for like the past years of whenever they're playing, they never see a 50-mile-per-hour pitcher. It's always like 90s. This just got them off balance. I don't really blame them for not scoring, but going 1-2-3 was just kind of confusing to me. But yeah, it was just weird, and I had some weird thoughts about this, because this kind of reminded me of me. This guy coming in to throw 50 miles per hour reminded me of myself when I used to pitch. In club baseball, I was a terrible pitcher. I was a pretty good hitter. I was a good contact hitter. I would always get hits. But I was a bad pitcher because I literally couldn't get any movement on any pitch. I just had kind of a decent fastball and changeup. I remember most of the times they would crush off me, but sometimes my pitching would work because I pitched so slow, hitters could not get their timing just like this. Because I remember coach would I think he would start our fastest pitcher and then bring me in to like mess with their timing. This is sort of what happened to the Orioles because, except the only reason the Orioles brought him in was because they were out of pitchers. And yeah, the first position player to get a save in baseball history. And yeah, it was just funny to me because I remember I would always fool hitters. I would come into pitch and they were so out in front and they couldn't get their timing back. So I was just throwing like low changeups or outside fastball, stuff like that. They just couldn't hit, which that was just funny to me. And the Angels win a really tough game, 10-8. Although the Angels scored 8 runs, the offense wasn't great at all because there was basically twice as many innings as an actual game. And then the runs the Angels scored were sort of unearned because most runs came off of like walks to load the bases, and then bunch of the runs came in after this. Also, the Orioles kind of let the Angels score a lot because Calhoun's bases clearing double. The outfielder, it bounced out of his glove. It looked like a tough play to make. It was called a double, of course, but most outfielders would have made that play. So yeah, basically offense just wasn't great at all. And a lot of runs, yeah, like I said, a lot of runs came off walks. It was a pretty exciting, but it was a tough game. I was definitely disappointed after the loss, but actually, I realized how exciting of a game we got to watch and me make a video about, and also, I realized that I could have a lot of talk about on this podcast. That was actually something I thought about. Yeah, like I could talk about this for like 10 minutes on this podcast, waste 10 minutes talking about an Angels loss. But yeah, it was just a pretty crazy game to be at. I was there for like 9 hours. I was actually starving, and I was happy to get home too. I was also excited after the game because we finally got to get home, and I finally got to eat. Yeah, because all I had was like Lunchables that I bring to the game, because I never really eat at stadiums. First of all, stadiums are expensive, and if you're ever going to an Angels game, you should pack food, or probably any game. I'm not sure. Some stadiums don't allow you to bring food because they want to take your money for their bad food, but I just bring like Lunchables or whatever. I don't buy food over there. The only food I buy at Angel Stadium is Wetzel Bits at the first base concourse. This isn't promotion or anything, but if you were to get something to eat at Angel Stadium, you should get Wetzel Bits. They are so good. Let's get back on topic though. And yeah, after crazy first game versus the Orioles, the Angels move on to game 2 of the series. And this was just all around a pretty bad game that they deserved to lose. I really didn't want to watch this game at all. I wasn't even at this game, and once I checked the score after the second inning and saw that it was 7-0. I didn't even bother turning on the game to watch it. Griffin Canning was supposed to start this game, but he pitched the last night. So Nick Tropiano was called up to make the start. He gave up 1 run in the first and 6 runs in the second. The Angels only had 5 hits and 3 runs all game. And the Orioles ended up winning 9-3. The only highlight of the game, I think this was the only highlight, was Matt Thaiss. He hit a home run. He's been insane, actually, Matt Thaiss. We'll get back to him in a little bit because he's had an insane week. But yeah, basically this game was terrible. Nick Tropiano is bad. I think he was optioned right after the game. And yeah, that's just a tough game. And I think the whole team was just worn out from the crazy game the night before. So the next game of the series was actually another tough game. The Angels lost 8-7. Another bad pitching game, obviously, as the pitching in these 3 games actually have given up 27 runs. They gave up 27 runs in the span of these 3 games, basically. Yeah, so Dylan Peters pitched this game. He didn't do good. Buttrey and Cahill didn't do good either. Buttrey hasn't been doing good recently. He's pretty much allowed runs, I think, in every relief appearance this past week or two. Something up with him, but I think him and along with a few other relievers are just being overused, and they're getting tired and they're just getting taxed too much. Hopefully this can change once Keenan Middleton comes back, because he's going to take innings he's going to pitch innings and take them away from other pitchers and give other relief pitchers sort of a smaller break, or a bigger break, actually. But yeah, Keenan Middleton is coming back soon. But anyway, back to the game. Pitching was bad, but the hitting was really good this game. Hitting has been pretty great all week. David Fletcher had a 3 RBI night. He was 4 for 5. Trout had a 2-run home run. Nothing new there for Trout. Ohtani hit a solo home run. Pujols hit a solo home run. So yeah, great hitting night. God, my voice is falling apart. All right, the Angels had a 1-1 lead going into the 8th, where Buttrey allowed a couple runs, putting the Orioles up by 2. Then the Angels rally in the 9th, but come up 1 run short. In this inning, Fletcher had a clutch single after a few walks, which put runners on first and third, and they scored 1 run off of Fletcher. I think Fletcher hit an RBI single and put runners on first and third. The Angels are down by 1 at this point with 1 out, and then Trout struck out, which is a rare unclutch moment from Trout. I don't know a word for that, but that's rare to see from Trout, kind of mess up there. But then after Trout, Ohtani walks to put the bases loaded, get bases loaded with 2 outs, and then Upton popped out. So definitely a really tough loss. It actually went down to bases loaded, full count, bottom of the 9th, down by 1. Kind of the biggest situation you can possibly have, which is cool to see. But then obviously the result of it wasn't fun to watch. So a tough loss there. And should have easily been a game the Angels should have won. Same with game 1. So Angels falls 3-0 in the series and only get 1 win out of the series in game 4, or the last game of the series, with a 5-4 win on the Sunday game. So in this game, Felix Pena had a solid outing, and then Matt Thaiss hits 2 home runs this game, including a walk-off home run. Like I said earlier, this guy is looking great. And so far, his stats this year, he has a 900 OPS. And he's just going to be such a big part of the Angels' future. He is just looking so good. And anyway, this series versus the Orioles hurt a lot. The Angels lose the series. They only get 1 win and 3 losses out of the series against the Orioles. But it's honestly not as bad as people think. I know that's coming from a biased Angels fan, but trust me on this, people kind of overreacted to this, because there's a few reasons why this wasn't that bad of a series. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, the Angels suck after the series. They're not showing that they're showing that they're not a playoff team and whatever bullshit they have to say." But anyway, the bottom line is the Angels didn't really do that terrible. Should have won 3 games of the series easily. But the Orioles lineup has been going on a tear coming into the series. The Orioles lineup has been doing so good. And they actually just beat today the Padres. They scored like 8 runs in that game. So the Orioles have actually been doing good coming into this series. It's not like the Orioles we been knowing all year. It sucks that we ran into them when they were actually doing good. The Angels did get a blown call to cost them the game, which they literally won the game, but then a call cost them the game. And then Game 3 of the series should have been won, just a rare mistake from Trout. So the Angels should have won 3 games out of the series. There's only 1 game they really did bad. But luckily for the Angels, this wasn't the end of the world because other teams going for the wild card didn't do great either, and the Angels only fell 1 game back of the wild card spot. And guys, with 2 months left to go and 5 games back of the wild card, really, literally anything can happen. And I don't want to hear anymore, "Oh, the Angels are out of it, they're not in the playoffs." I don't want to hear that at all from anybody. The Angels need to start winning, and I definitely believe that's going to happen. But anyway, let's get into the Tigers series. As I'm recording this podcast, the Angels have played 2 games versus the Tigers, which have resulted in a split 1-1. The Angels lost the first game 7-2, which actually this was another bad game for the Angels. Nothing else to say. Just another all-around bad game. The Angels only scored 2 runs all game, and these were off of Jordan Zimmermann, who has an 8 ERA this season, and he's 0-8 coming into this game. He actually got his first win here, which that part actually pissed me off a lot. But the offense was just asleep, and sometimes the offense is inconsistent and has really bad nights. Most nights the offense is good, but sometimes they just have really, really bad nights. And that's just baseball. They actually did get pretty unlucky this game. There was a lot of hard balls in play, but just right at players, you know what I mean. So they should have scored a few more runs, but it still wasn't a good offensive night, of course. And Jaime Barria actually didn't do too bad. He gave up a couple runs, but Buttrey came up in the 8th and gave up 3 runs. He's just had a really, really bad week. And he should just get a small break, which I hope he does get, because I think the Angels just overpitched him. I just need a few nights off to relax. Nothing really a big concern about Buttrey. 7-2 loss in Game 1 of the series. And the second game of the series, which was actually tonight, the Angels picked up a win, and they won 6-1. Griffin Canning looked good again. He went 6 scoreless. Dice hit another home run. Simmons had a great night with a couple hits, including a double and an RBI. Upton had 3 hits with an RBI himself. Goodwin had a hit and an RBI, I believe. So all around a solid game and a bounce back from yesterday. So the Angels have, in all these games I've talked about since last Sunday, they've gone 4-4 in this span, which isn't great. The Angels haven't had that good of a week, but it's not that bad at all, especially being the Dodgers 2 games. And the Angels haven't really moved back in the wild card spot. They're still 5 games back. They're definitely going to need to pick it up and get a lot of wins if they want to gain some ground in the wild card spot, because a lot of teams are competing. So obviously you need to win a lot, but and I think for something that they need, it's more of a need because we literally don't have enough starting pitching. I think the Angels need one starting pitcher from the trade deadline. This is kind of the main topic I actually want to talk about in this podcast, the trade deadline. Who could the Angels trade? Who they should trade for? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the trade deadline. I think there's only like 15 hours left of the deadline, so it's good timing to make the podcast.